The galaxy held its breath. In the far reaches of space, 1,000 alien warships formed a wall of firepower, their lights glowing like a storm of suns across the darkness. This was the Armada, a force built from many alien empires, united for one purpose: Earth's destruction. The message had spread across systems like wildfire. The humans must be stopped before they grow too strong. Whispers in alien markets spoke of Earth's strange science, of their reckless courage, of their history as Death World survivors. Most laughed, calling humanity weak, fragile, too young to challenge the stars. But the leaders of the Armada did not laugh. They feared the unknown, and so they gathered their fleets. On the screens of command decks, Earth appeared small, a blue world shining like a jewel. One admiral sneered, "One world against thousands, this will be quick." Another laughed, "They have no fleets, no allies, nothing but empty threats." Confidence filled the alien ranks. Their armada was larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen, and yet rumors lingered. Spies whispered of a single ship hidden deep in Earth's orbit. One ship, they said, carried technology the galaxy had never witnessed. But who could believe such a story? One ship against an armada was madness. On Earth, silence ruled the halls of command. Generals and scientists stood in dark rooms filled with glowing screens. They watched the Armada approach like a storm cloud across the stars. Every second brought the enemy closer. Every moment was heavier than the last. At the center of the command sat Captain Elias Ward, a man with iron eyes and a voice that carried no fear. He looked at the images of the alien fleet and spoke softly. "So it begins." Outside Earth's orbit, hidden by layers of advanced cloaking, floated a ship unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. It was small compared to the Armada's giants, no. Larger than a single alien cruiser, its hull shimmered, bending light around it, as if space itself bowed in silence. This was the Aegis, humanity's lone defender, the only weapon Earth had prepared in secret while aliens mocked humans had been building. For decades, engineers worked in underground labs. Physicists unlocked powers no one believed possible, metamaterials that twisted energy, quantum weapons that could shatter matter itself. The Aegis was the sum of every secret, every sacrifice, every fear humanity had ever carried into the stars. The Armada did not know. To them, it was only a rumor, a shadow, a lie to comfort a weak world. But as they drew closer, sensors picked up a strange disturbance, something in orbit of Earth, hidden but pulsing. The alien admirals frowned. "What is that signal?" "An anomaly, nothing more," another dismissed. They did not understand, not yet. Back on the Aegis, Captain Ward stood in silence. His crew was small, only a few dozen men and women, but their faces carried the weight of humanity's survival. The ship's AI whispered in a calm tone, "Armada within striking range in 10 minutes. Ward nodded, his jaw tight. "Let them come." On the alien flagship, excitement boiled. The Armada stretched across the horizon like a sea of blades. They prepared their first volley, energy cannons glowing, missile bays opening. In their minds, the battle was already over. Earth would burn, and the humans would bend to the will of the galaxy. But deep inside, a strange unease began to spread. Their sensors struggled to lock onto Earth's orbit. The signal grew stronger, stranger. It was as if something alive was waking in the void, and then it appeared. For the first time, alien eyes saw the Aegis. The cloak rippled away, revealing its shining hull, smooth and sharp like a blade of silver light. It was small, silent, but terrifying in its simplicity. It did not carry banners, it did not send threats. It only drifted forward, steady and calm. Laughter erupted across the Armada. "Is this their great defense?" one admiral mocked. "A toy ship," another sneered. 1,000 ships against one. It was absurd, but not to Captain Ward. He looked at his crew and gave a single order: power the core. Deep inside the Aegis, the heart of the ship came alive. Energy rippled through its frame, bending space like water. The ship hummed, low and deep, a sound that reached into the bones of those who watched. Alien sensors screamed with warnings, codes flashing red. Unknown energy detected. Level impossible to measure. Recommend retreat. Yet the admirals ignored the warnings. Pride blinded them. They raised their weapons, confident in their numbers. 1,000 ships prepared to fire. But in that silence before the storm, one thought chilled them. Why did the human ship not move? The answer would come in the next heartbeat, but by then, it would be too late. The alien armada filled the sky. 1,000 warships drifted in perfect formation, their cannons glowing, their engines burning like suns. Every species in the fleet believed the same thing, that this was the end of Earth. Their numbers made them bold. Their pride made them blind. They thought one human ship could never matter. On the bridge of the flagship, Grand Admiral Zalon raised his clawed hand. He had commanded battles for centuries, and victory had always been his. He looked at the image of the human vessel and let out a cold laugh. So small, so fragile, he sneered. Erase it. Orders rippled through the fleet like thunder. Weapons locked, shields hummed, missiles armed. Every ship turned toward the lone human vessel. On alien worlds across the galaxy, billions watched through live transmissions. They expected to see Earth's hope crushed in seconds. They expected to see the lone ship burn. But on the Aegis, the crew did not tremble. They sat in silence, their hands steady, their face calm. Each of them had trained for this moment. Each of them had sworn an oath. If Earth was to fall, they would fall with it. Captain Ward stood at the center of the bridge. His eyes never left the massive armada that stretched across the stars. The AI's voice whispered through the speakers. Enemy fleet, ready to fire. Ward nodded slowly, then let them. A storm of light erupted. The alien armada unleashed everything. Thousands of beams tore across the void. Blazing missiles streaked forward. Shockwaves rippled through the dark. Space itself seemed to scream as the fury of 1,000 ships converged on one point. The light swallowed the Aegis. For a moment, Earth's command centers fell silent. For a moment, the galaxy believed humanity was gone. Then the smoke cleared and the Aegis still drifted, untouched. Not a scratch marked its silver hull. The alien cannons had done nothing. The missiles had vanished like stones thrown into an endless sea. Gasps filled the alien bridges. Panic flickered in their eyes. Their sensors screamed warnings. Impact confirmed but no damage. Energy signature unknown. Shields ineffective. Admiral Zalon slammed his claws against the console. Impossible, he roared. No ship can survive that. But the evidence was before them. One ship against thousands, and it had not even moved. On the Aegis, a low hum filled the bridge. The crew looked to Captain Ward. He raised his hand and spoke calmly. Core stabilized. The AI confirmed in a voice colder than steel. Quantum coil charged. Ward's eyes narrowed. He spoke one word. Fire. From the front of the Aegis, a single pulse of light erupted. It was not bright, not loud, not violent like the alien weapons. It was quiet, smooth, and almost elegant. The beam cut through the void and touched an alien battleship. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, without sound, without burning, the entire battleship vanished, not destroyed, not broken, erased, gone as if it had never existed. Silence swallowed the armada. Thousands of alien eyes stared in horror at the empty space where their ship had once been. Whispers turned to screams. What is this weapon? It is not possible. Retreat, retreat. But it was too late. The Aegis had awakened, and the galaxy was about to learn what it meant to challenge humanity. Captain Ward looked out at the endless fleet. His voice was steady. That was only a warning. The AI spoke again. Targeting sequence locked on 100 ships. Ward gave the order. Show them. The pulse began to charge again, the hum growing louder, shaking the bones of every soul who heard it. Alien admirals shouted orders. Ships broke formation. Some fled, some froze. The once proud armada was trembling, because in one moment they realized the truth. Numbers would not save them. Technology would not save them. Pride would not save them. Humanity's lone ship had defied the laws of war, and the armada's nightmare had only just begun. The void trembled with silence. The alien armada, once proud and unshakable, now floated in hesitation. One of their greatest battleships, a vessel the size of a city, had simply vanished. No wreckage, no fire, no explosion. It was as if it had been erased from reality. On alien bridges, officers shouted, their voices rising with fear. Confirm visual. Where is the Draxon flagship? Gone, Admiral. It's gone. The word spread like poison through the comm channels. Entire fleets whispered the same thing. One shot, one ship gone. Admiral Zalon's claws dug into the console. His pride would not allow fear, but deep inside, his blood ran cold. Reform the lines, he barked. Overwhelm them again. No single ship can stand against us. Yet even as he spoke, his eyes flickered back to the silver vessel that drifted calmly against the void. The Aegis did not move. It did not rush. It did not retreat. It floated as if time itself bowed to its crew sat in silence. Their hands hovered over controls, but no panic touched their faces. The ship was alive, its hum steady, its energy climbing. The galaxy's storm aimed at them, and still they were calm. Captain Ward's voice was steady. Mark secondary targets. The AI responded. Targets locked. 100 vessels. The crew did not gasp. They did not falter. They only nodded because this was why they had been chosen. Every officer on the Aegis knew they were standing at the edge of history. The Armada fired again. A wall of energy bolts streaked across the void. Thousands of missiles ignited. Explosions flared. Shockwaves tore the darkness. It was the fury of empires unleashed, the kind of storm that had broken worlds before. But when the fire cleared, the Aegis remained, untouched once more. The alien fleet froze. Their sensors flashed red warnings they did not understand. Their weapons, their proudest creations, were useless. It was like throwing stones at a mountain. Nothing could reach the human ship. Ward raised his hand. Return fire. The second pulse erupted. But this time, it was not aimed at one ship. The beams split into streams of light, weaving across the black like silver rivers, one after another. Alien warships blinked out of existence. 10, 20, 50, vanished in silence. 100 ships gone in less than a breath. Screams filled the comm channels. Entire fleets broke apart. Captains begging for orders. Admirals shouting to hold the line. But no one listened. Discipline shattered like glass under a hammer. On distant worlds, billions of civilians watched the broadcast. Some cheered, others trembled. But all of them whispered the same word, humans. They had mocked them, feared them, underestimated them. But now they understood why Earth had been silent for so long, why they had hidden their strength. Admiral Zalon's eyes burned. With rage, he slammed his fist down and roared, "All fleets converge, surround it, do not let it escape." His officers hesitated. "Admiral, our weapons do nothing. Our shields collapse. We cannot—" "Silence," he screamed, but his own voice carried doubt. He had seen the impossible, and the impossible had crushed him on the Aegis. Captain Ward leaned forward. "Open broadcast," he ordered. The AI complied, and his voice carried across the enemy fleet. "This is your first and final warning. Turn back now, or you will not return at all." The words hit the Armada harder than any weapon. Some captains froze, others cursed, but more than a few turned their ships away, engines roaring as they fled. The line that had once seemed unbreakable began to crack. Ward turned to his crew, his voice quiet but firm. "They think numbers will save them." His eyes narrowed. "Let's show them what numbers mean to us." The Aegis's core pulsed brighter. The hum grew louder, shaking even Earth's oceans below. Every screen lit with targets, thousands of them, the AI whispered, ready for mass discharge. The alien Armada prepared for one last desperate charge. Admiral Zealand screamed orders, his face twisted with rage and fear, but his officers hesitated, their hands shook. They had never faced an enemy like this. They had never seen death arrive so quietly, so absolutely. And then the Aegis fired again. A wave of silver light swept across the void. Ships blinked out like candles in the wind, dozens gone, hundreds erased. The galaxy's greatest fleet was crumbling, and the humans had only just begun. The galaxy had never seen silence like this. Where once the Armada roared with power and discipline, now only fear echoed across the comms. The proudest fleet in history was breaking apart. Hundreds of ships gone in seconds. 100 more fleeing without orders. The unstoppable force had met something it could not even understand. Admiral Zalon's voice cracked with fury. "Hold your ground, reform ranks. Surround the HFY Stories. Human vessel." But his words carried no weight anymore. His officers glanced at each other, their eyes wide, their hands trembling. How do you command warriors who believe death itself floats before them? On the outer rim of the fleet, smaller ships broke formation first. Captain screamed over comms. It erased the Draxon flagship. It's not a weapon, it's a curse. Retreat before it chooses us next. Entire squadrons turned and fled, engines blazing like frightened sparks. Order was collapsing. The Armada had become a storm of panic. On distant worlds, civilians watched the broadcast in stunned horror. Empires that once mocked Earth now felt their knees weaken. The idea of humans as weak was gone forever. In its place, a new image, one ship defying thousands, one human captain daring to face the galaxy alone. Inside the Aegis, Captain Ward watched calmly. His crew remained silent, disciplined. The ship's AI whispered through the speakers. Armada disorganized, 70% of vessels in retreat. Ward's expression did not change. They will not stop, he said quietly. They are too proud, too afraid of their own people. They will come again. The AI responded. Do you wish to finish them now? Ward looked at the void, at the thousands of ships still trembling in formation. His voice was cold. No, not yet. They must understand first. On the alien flagship, Admiral Zelon slammed his claws into the console so hard the screen cracked. He roared with desperation. Forward, crush them with everything we have left. But even as his command echoed, many of his officers looked away. Their pride was gone, their fear too strong. Some whispered the unthinkable. Perhaps we should surrender. Zelon's rage burned hotter. Surrender to humans? To Deathworlders? Never. His pride blinded him still, but even he could not ignore the truth. Every second they faced the Aegis, more ships disappeared, not destroyed, not shattered, erased. It was a terror beyond logic. On the Aegis, the hum of the core deepened. The silver hull glowed faintly, rippling like liquid light. Ward stood, his voice carrying across the bridge. They came with arrogance. They came with fire. They thought fear belonged only to us. He turned to his crew, his eyes hard as stone. Now they will taste their own fear, the AI confirmed. Mass discharge sequence ready. Ward raised his hand. Target their command ships. A new wave of light erupted. Not loud, not violent, quiet, elegant, merciless. It swept across the void and touched the largest ships at the heart of the Armada. In an instant, the proud command vessels winked out of existence. Dozens of admirals gone without a sound. The Armada was headless, blind, and broken. Across the fleet, terror exploded. Command ships lost. No orders, no leadership. Run, run, it's coming for us next. Entire battle lines dissolved into chaos. What had been the strongest armada in the galaxy was now nothing more than prey. On alien worlds, rulers leaned forward in horror. If one ship could do this, what would happen if Earth unleashed a fleet? What if humanity had built more? Whispers of fear spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Some spoke of surrendering to humans now before it was too late. Others whispered darker thoughts. If humanity was allowed to live, then no one was safe. Captain Ward's voice cut through the silence of his bridge. They still do not understand. His crew looked at him, waiting. Ward's eyes narrowed. They believe this is our full power. He leaned closer to the console. They are wrong. The AI hummed in agreement. Secondary systems online. Lights across the ship pulsed. Weapons never before seen unfolded from hidden compartments, their shapes bending reality itself. Ward's voice was cold as ice. Now we show them what happens when Earth stops warning. The Armada trembled even before the next strike. Ships began to scatter. They're in blind panic, captains shouting over comms, begging for retreat. But it was already too late. Because the Aegis had moved, for the first time since the battle began, the human ship advanced. And in that single movement, the Armada knew the truth. Their end had only just begun. The galaxy believed they had seen the full strength of Earth, but the truth had only just begun to awaken. The Aegis drifted forward through the broken Armada, its silver hull rippling with energy that bent the stars themselves. The fleeing ships scattered like insects before a fire. Yet still, the question lingered across every world, every fleet, every throne. What was this ship, and how had humans built it? On the bridge of the Aegis, Captain Ward's expression never changed. His crew worked in silence, their hands steady, their eyes fixed on glowing controls. The AI whispered calmly, Secondary systems engaged, metamaterial lattice at full resonance. Ward's voice was low. Maintain charge, let them see. For the first time, the alien admirals noticed the ship was changing. Sections of its hull shimmered like liquid, shifting, reforming. Weapons emerged where none had been before, blades of light stretching out and folding back in. It was alive in a way no machine should be. Whispers of terror spread through the fleeing armada. It's not a ship, it's a creature. No, it's worse. Humans have made a god of metal. But no one knew the truth. No one but humanity. Decades earlier, in secret bases buried beneath Earth's oceans and mountains, scientists had worked without rest. They had seen the galaxy's judgment coming. They had known Earth would one day face extinction, so they had built something beyond war, beyond physics, beyond imagination, metamaterials, capable of bending energy in space, quantum engines, able to rewrite matter itself, and an artificial mind so advanced it bordered. On alive together, these became the Aegis, not a weapon of conquest, but a shield of survival. A single ship meant to remind the galaxy that Earth would never kneel. Back on alien worlds, rulers screamed in disbelief. How could primitives create this? It defies every law of science. But the truth was simple. Humans had always thrived in chaos, always adapted, always pushed where no one else dared, and in silence they had prepared for this day. Admiral Zalon's claws shook as he stared at the glowing form of the Aegis. His pride had carried him into this war, but now pride was ashes in his throat. His officers looked at him with despair. Some whispered openly, "We cannot fight this. We must run." Others turned their eyes away. They already knew their empire was finished, but Captain Ward was not finished. He raised his hand and the ship obeyed. Panels along the hull opened, releasing streams of silver light into the void. They twisted, curled, and spread across space, forming massive arcs of energy. Alien ships caught in their path, blinked away instantly, erased without fire, without explosion. It was a storm that unmade reality itself. Billions watching from across the galaxy gasped in terror. Even the bravest alien warriors fell to their knees. What they saw was not war. It was execution. It was the death of arrogance. On the bridge, Ward's crew sat in silence. They were not cheering. They were not smiling. They only carried the weight of duty because they knew this was not victory. This was a warning. Every shot, every erased ship was a message to the galaxy. Do not test us again, the AI's voice echoed calmly. Metamaterial field stable, quantum reserves at 60%. Ward gave a slight nod. Good, make sure they see it. The Armada, once unbreakable, was now nothing but scattered fragments. Some fled into the dark, abandoning their commanders. Others drifted in silence, their crews paralyzed by fear. The fleet that had come to burn Earth and fought only to survive, but Ward was not done. His voice carried across the bridge. Prepare transmission. The AI obeyed, and across the alien comms, across the galaxy itself, his voice rang clear. You came here to erase humanity. His words were calm, but they struck harder than any weapon. You believed one world, one people could not stand against you. He leaned forward, his voice sharp as a blade. You were wrong. His words spread through every surviving ship, every ruler watching, every citizen in fear, and then the final line came. This ship is only the beginning. Gasps erupted across the galaxy. If one ship could erase thousands, what would happen if Earth had more? What if this was not their only creation? What if an entire fleet of Aegis-class ships was already waiting? Panic spread faster than light. Alien leaders screamed to retreat. Captains abandoned the fight. Some destroyed their own weapons, terrified to even aim at the human vessel again. But Ward's crew stayed silent. They knew the truth. There was no fleet of Aegis ships. This was the only one. But the galaxy didn't need to know that. Fear was the weapon now, and humanity would wield it without mercy. The AI's voice whispered once more, enemy morale collapsing, shall we pursue? Ward's eyes hardened. Not yet, he said. First, let the galaxy drown in its fear. And with that, the Aegis advanced again. Its glowing form cut across the broken armada like a silver spear. For the first time in history, the galaxy understood what it had done. It had awakened a death world, and now the death world's children had teeth. The void burned with fear. What had once been the galaxy's strongest fleet was now nothing but broken fragments. The Armada, a force of thousands united to erase Earth, now drifted like prey trapped in its own web. Ships scattered in every direction, formations shattered, pride lost. No admiral could hold them together. No command could restore what had already died. On the alien flagship, Admiral Zalon's voice was raw with desperation. "Regroup! Regroup, or we are finished," he roared. But his words met only silence. His officers stared at him with empty eyes. They had seen their leaders vanish in silence, their warships erased as if they had never lived. Obedience was gone, replaced only by dread. Across the broken fleet, panic spread like wildfire. Captains screamed for retreat. Others begged for mercy. Some turned their weapons on their own allies, desperate to clear a path to escape. The proud Armada was devouring itself. It had become not a war, but a massacre. And at the center of it all, the Aegis advanced, slow, steady, unstoppable. Its silver hull rippled with energy, bending light and space. Every movement was like a predator circling its prey. The galaxy watched in silence, and the galaxy trembled. On the Aegis, Captain Ward stood unshaken. His crew watched their displays, calm, focused. The AI's voice was steady. Enemy forces in full retreat, structural integrity of fleet broken, projected casualties, 90%. Ward's eyes narrowed. "They thought numbers would crush us," he said quietly. "Now they will learn what it means to fight without hope." The AI hummed in reply. "Quantum reserves at 40%, sufficient for one more discharge at maximum." Ward gave the order without hesitation. "Do it." The ship's core pulsed, brighter than before. A hum rose that seemed to shake even the bones of the fleeing crews. Alien sensors flashed warnings, the unreadable codes, impossible measurements. And then the light came. It spread across the void like a tidal wave. Ships blinked out in silence, one after another. Whole squadrons vanishing without fire, hundreds of vessels gone in a breath. The Armada had no defense, no shield, no answer. Screams echoed across comms. "Retreat! Retreat! Do not fire! Do not look at it." Some captains simply shut their systems down, praying the human ship would ignore them. Others destroyed their own reactors, ending themselves before the Aegis could touch them. The terror was absolute. On alien worlds, leaders collapsed into fear. Empires that had once mocked humanity now sent urgent messages to one another. Earth cannot be opposed. If they have one ship, they may have many. If they unleash a fleet, the galaxy is lost. It was not just defeat. It was the birth of a nightmare. Admiral Zalon, broken and trembling, whispered to himself, "No, this cannot be. No world could build this. No people could." But deep inside, he knew the truth. This was the end of his Armada, and perhaps the end of his empire. Back on the Aegis, Ward looked out at the ruins of the fleet. The void was littered with silence where thousands of ships had once stood. Now only fragments remained, drifting aimlessly like ghosts. His voice was calm. "Transmit to all survivors." The AI obeyed. Opening the channel, Ward's voice spread like thunder across the broken Armada. "This was your warning. You came to erase us, and instead you erased yourselves." His words cut like blades into the hearts of the survivors. "You thought we were weak, that Earth would kneel." His voice hardened. "But today, you learned what happens when humanity stands." The message spread beyond the battlefield, carried by fleeing ships, broadcast to worlds far away. Billions heard it, and billions felt their blood run cold. If one ship could erase thousands, what chance did the galaxy truly have? If this was Earth's warning, then what would Earth's wrath look like? On the bridge, the AI's voice returned. "Enemy fleet no longer combat capable, survivors scattering into deep space." Ward gave a single nod. "Good. Let them scatter, let them speak." His crew looked at him in silence. They understood. Fear itself had become Earth's greatest weapon, and the survivors would carry that fear home. But deep within the Aegis, the core hummed again. Systems pulsed with energy, weapons shifting like liquid light. The ship was ready, restless, alive, and Ward knew the truth. This battle was not the end. It was only the beginning. The galaxy now had a story it could never erase. A single ship had destroyed the Armada, and the survivors would tell the tale in whispers, whispers that would soon become terror. and terror that would soon become obedience, Captain Ward stood tall, his eyes cold. "Prepare the next course," he ordered. The AI asked softly. "Destination?" Ward's voice carried like steel. "Wherever the galaxy dares to challenge us." And with that, the Aegis turned. The stars stretched around it, the void bending to its will, and the Armada, once a storm of death, now nothing but dust, was left behind. The Armada was gone. Where thousands of ships had once blazed like a storm of suns, only silence remained. Fragments of wreckage drifted slowly, glowing faintly before vanishing into the endless dark. The greatest force ever assembled in galactic history had been erased in hours, and it had taken only one human ship to do it. Across the galaxy, survivors fled in broken convoys. Their comms screamed with overlapping voices. "Stay away from Earth. Do not fight them. They cannot be defeated." The word spread like wildfire, faster than any fleet could travel. In every star system, whispers grew into terror. The humans had done the impossible, and they had done it with one ship. On the bridge of the Aegis, Captain Ward stood in silence. His crew watched the aftermath with calm discipline, the AI reported. Enemy casualties 98%, survivors scattering, pursuit possible. Ward shook his head slowly. "No, let them go. They will do our work for us." He turned to his crew, his voice steady. "They came here to erase us, but instead they will carry our story home." His words hung heavy. "They will spread the truth to every world, every council, every throne, and the galaxy will never forget." On distant worlds, alien rulers gathered in their war chambers. Screens flickered with shaky footage of the battle. They watched ships vanish, fleets dissolve, commanders erased. Some rulers shouted in rage, "Impossible lies, no one can wield such power." But their voices shook, their hands trembled because deep inside they knew it was true. Others whispered with fear, "If one ship can erase an armada, how many more do the humans have? Do they already have a fleet ready to burn us all?" The galaxy turned on itself. Alliances cracked. Empires doubted. Councils panicked. The balance of power was broken forever. In backrooms and hidden chambers, alien leaders argued desperately. Should we surrender to Earth now? Should we beg them for peace before they unleash another weapon? But none of them dared to speak their fear aloud. The humans had not only won, they had rewritten the laws of war. They had shown that no empire, no fleet, no council could ever stand against them. Meanwhile, on Earth, silence filled the war room. Generals, scientists, and world leaders stared at the screens in awe. They had built the Aegis in secret, hoping it would save them if the day of judgment came. Now it had, and Earth still stood, not just safe, but untouchable. Yet Captain Ward knew the truth. The Aegis was powerful, yes, but it was also humanity's first and only creation of its kind. There was no fleetway eating in hidden shipyards, no endless army of silver vessels ready to deploy, but the galaxy didn't need to know that. Fear itself had become their greatest weapon, and fear was worth more than 1,000 warships. Ward opened the comms again, his voice carrying through the void. "To the galaxy," he said, his tone like iron. "You came with arrogance, and you leave with ashes. You believed we were weak, but now you know the truth." He paused, letting silence burn deeper than words. This was not conquest. This was not invasion. This was survival. His eyes hardened as he spoke the final words. "And know this, if you ever come for Earth again, you will not face one ship. You will face all of humanity." The transmission echoed across the stars. Survivors heard it, rulers heard it, and billions of civilians across distant worlds heard it. The words became legend before the echoes even faded. Songs would be sung of it, histories written, children warned at bedtime. The day the Armada came for Earth and was erased in seconds. Back on the alien flagship wreckage, Admiral Ceylon floated in silence, his eyes hollow. He whispered to himself in disbelief, "One ship. Only one ship." And then he said the truth no one in the galaxy could deny. The humans are death made flesh. The galaxy would never see Earth the same again. Trade routes shifted, alliances cracked, wars froze. Because everyone knew Earth had risen, no longer prey, no longer a backwater world, but a power the galaxy must bow to. In the quiet of the Aegis, the crew sat still, exhausted but proud. They had faced the impossible and survived. They had carried all of humanity on their shoulders, and they had proven that Earth would never fall. Ward looked at the stars, his voice low. "They will fear us now," the AI answered softly. "They will remember." And so it was written in the dark of space, a warning carved into the hearts of every empire. They sent an armada for war, but Earth's lone ship erased them in seconds, and the galaxy would never forget.